It's an all-Thailand affair for the Globe Conquerors Manila finals, and here are four things I want to talk about for the tournament thus far. Now, the first thing is that the regional strategy needs work. It's overshadowed by the Asian Games, and with Hyperplay openly happening a few weeks prior to this event, the Globe Conquerors Manila tournament had a big task in stepping up to the plate in the wake of Hyperplay's high production value and the international visibility of the Asian Games. For me, as a Singaporean not directly involved in the local League of Legends scene, not currently anyways, and the presence of two other events, were much more prevalent on my news feed, with me only knowing that the GCM was about to start when I saw the players share on Facebook that they were flying to Manila. As with any Asian tournament, having clashing time zones with LPL and LCK competes for a large portion of the viewership as well. And despite having a broadcast in at least three languages, Bahasa, English, and Thai, the total concurrent viewership I noticed across the three streams didn't exceed, I'll give it the most 4,000, maybe 5,000 at best. Never mind the lower production quality and how the English stream had no playback enabled on the stream. The online experience for the event was unhyped and underwhelming. The GCM seemed to promise a reinvigoration of the Southeast Asian League of Legends scene, but at the moment it only seems like a mire that Thailand looks to be doing their best to break free of from as soon as possible. Point number two. Well, um, I'm not sure if it's insulting to put it this way, but amateurs do as amateurs can, and RSG semifinal exit. So, Resurgence was my pick to win the tournament, despite being only a semi-pro team. The results during the Asian Games qualifiers were rather promising. They finished second place behind the Vietnamese team, which means that they beat Mega, they beat Minaski, and they beat all these other top representatives. Of course, they didn't have access to imports during the Asian Games, and still, it was a promising showing from the Resurgence roster then, and on their roster, they have a collection of the best talent that the Singaporean scene has produced so far. Unlike the other all-star teams that require a sorcerer supreme of sorts to keep the players from imploding on the team, this one worked together as a unit and functioned like one. Alas, they were bested by the Thai teams, when 0-2 against Ascension in the group stage, and then went 1-3 against Mega in the semifinals. And fair criticism can be split evenly between the draft and the in-game execution. Still, I think it would take some level of hubris and disrespect towards the efforts of the professional teams who wants the opportunity at the World Championship just as badly, if not more. To think that this would happen a walk in the park for Singapore's golden generation would have been um, not well founded, I would have to say. I would think that this finish in the semifinals. I mean, I heard that the players were very upset after the games, but they should look at this as a positive because now that they know that they have a good formula and ability to maximize the capabilities of non-professionals and go toe to toe with teams that do 50 hours plus of practice every week. It took RNG 5 splits to finally win an international event, and Flash Rules were a dynasty in building over a 3-year period. Everyone wants to have the Griffin, the Cloud9 miracle run, but a wise man asks for strength, while only fools yearn for miracles. So I hope that the team looks at this and they see that, yep, we finally have a working formula. Things are coming together, and this is the first international event they play as Resurgence with this lineup. And how can they move forward from here? It only gets better. I can only feel that this is where they are. It's a strong showing. For the first time, we have some level of competency going out onto the international stage that doesn't involve like two Thai players coming in, being parachuted in. So this is a good platform from which they can build forward on. Now, talking about development, this brings me on to the next point. Beware of the Korean boot camp, especially if you are from a wildcard from a significantly weaker region. Now, three teams in the GCM went to Korea to boot camp prior to the event. Two of them are in the finals. So, from what I heard and what I was told, that Mega Ascension and Mineski went to boot camp in Korea prior to the GCM. Mega and Ascension are in the finals, while Mineski crashed out in very unceremonious fashion. Mineski sent the roster to Korea to train for 2 weeks, only to go 0-3 on the first day of the GCM and lose control of the Destiny on day 2 before being eliminated in third place within their group. If you ask me, I would advise GCM teams against going to Korea before a major event, especially if it is their first time attempting such a training regime. They break in pace, routine, and culture in an unfamiliar environment that can be very uncomfortable for players who don't speak Korean. You don't speak the language. It creates a lot of out of game stress that easily compounds with the in game issues of suddenly having opponents that are way out of your league. And then having these opponents cancel on you because of that deficit in strength, and you're not able to climb the solo queue ladder. And then you have the toxicity of this whole open mid thing that's happening in Korea, apparently, getting to you. Or you might just be slumping in general as a result of the out of game factors affecting them. And this all compounds and can create a very negative training environment for the team, which actually might result in a decrease in performance rather than the increase of performance that you were looking for. The number of teams that have gone to Korea for boot camp only to return to their domestic tournament and fail spectacularly outgrowing this of case studies. Now, the counter logic example in the NALCS was probably the first high profile example that comes to my mind. And this was the roster of Link and the one that Monty claimed that he was just coaching for the cameras when they went over to Korea. I'm not sure if that was said in jest or whatsoever, but let's look at a more regional example. And heck, even Ascension ran into the same issues. They went to Korea before Rift Rivals, and we saw how dismal performance they put up against the Oceanic and Japanese teams there. Now, Rift Rivals might not be the most serious of tournaments, but there is an impact. When you go to Korea, if you don't prepare properly, if you don't know what's going to hit you, there is a very real risk that you're going to see a decrease in performance. As to why Ascension and Mega arguably succeeded in their bootcamp, it's hard to determine if it was actually a boon or a bane to them. Because either way, whether they went to Korea or not, the expectation was that the Thai teams would finish top two. They have been the strongest team in the region for some time. But what I do think is working for them is that Ascension they went once before Rift Rival. So at the start of the summer split, they went once, and then they went a second time. So if you are going to go a second time, this time you go there and then you know that, okay, food is going to be a problem, lodging and player comfort is going to be an issue, finding scrims, and how are we going to structure our practice in solo queue. And on top of that, Ascension is also probably a much higher level team, so they would still be able to go toe to toe with the KRCS teams if they're able to get scrims with them, and they wouldn't just be going then just scrimming with amateur Korean teams. Well, I do think that Mineski did get a scrim KRCS teams, and it would be really sad if they went there and they ended up scrimming the LMS ECS teams or the LPL, not even the LPL, the LDL bottom tier teams, because that those scrims are accessible to them already outside of Korea. Now, last thing I want to talk about, I spoke favorably about Resurgence because this is a team that shows signs of a team on the rise. But the Kuala Lumpur Hunters, they experience a very bit of deja vu as they fall 1-3 to Ascension in the semifinals. My criticisms of the Kuala Lumpur Hunters can go ad nauseum, but I think that this was a team that saw an upswing in 2016, developing the concept of using strategy to cover for weaknesses that they had. It's a very patchwork approach to things, but they never really developed past that. With them continuing to rely on these creative patchwork strategies as a crutch in a region where teams have very poor fundamentals in the game. So they would always pick like team fighting in the top lane, and then they would just sacrifice the top lane, try to play the mid jungle and bot as much as they can, and then they make up for the fact that they have a huge gaping hole in the top lane by making a TP play to team fight. And to punish the teams that like to overextend and not respect TP advantages. Now, the RE pick in game 4 of the match against Ascension would have been the story of this iteration of Kuala Lumpur Hunters in a nutshell. It's a creative pick that screams tactics before strategy. It's trying so hard to be different, trying to be unique as a last-ditch attempt to cover for the core fundamentals of the game that the team seems to be missing. Now, you can look at this and ask me, so why is it that when KLH plays a new pick, I give them such a criticism because they do this every split. They do this every split. They go in there, they play against, oh, we are up against a better team now. We got to pull out something crazy. You got to try something new and exciting to try to pull us back into the game. They're never going to go and play standard with other people. And while I think that this is an acceptable thing, when it first started on 2016, it's been 5 splits. It has been 5 splits of you guys trying to cover for your core weaknesses using something else. Why not during this time, you guys just spend some time and fix the issues. Make sure that when you guys go in, you guys can go toe to toe in lane. Your lanes are not just exploding all over the place, and you guys don't have to rely on the Hail Mary team fight every time. Put yourself in a position where your opponent has to be the one to do the creative thing to beat you. Now, losing lanes against amateur teams in hyperplay should have been the last red flag of way too many that this team has had. They lived by the cheese and they died by it as well. The gloom and doom around the KLH team seems to stem from a potential disbandment of the team that might be coming around the corner. I'm just gleaming this off my Facebook feed, but just like how the disbandment of SGS allowed for the rise of new talent in Singapore, perhaps this might open up a new landscape and series of opportunities in Malaysia.